Hey everybody, welcome to episode 4 of What Not to Miss with Chris. As you know by now, my goal each week is to put out quick, relevant content that explains the why behind the what in order to positively impact the freight community. Last episode, I shared some data regarding imports, why maritime data is so important, and how it significantly impacts the truckload sector. On today's episode, I'm going to break down equipment type utilization, which length of haul is currently the most popular, and why, as well as how haul data typically shifts during the peak shipping season. The chart behind me is a 6-month view of the outbound tender rejection index. This index takes into account van, flatbed, and refrigerated equipment types and averages them together. The current average for the outbound tender rejections for those three modes is sitting at 24,498, so right below 25%. One really cool thing we can do here is to break this down into those three different types of equipments, and that's what you see here. The refrigerated outbound tender rejection up top is sitting at 38%, followed by van at 25%, and flatbed just below 10%. So I guess a good question to ask is why? Why would refrigerated be different than flatbed be different than van, etc.? So starting with refrigerated, one of the reasons refrigerated rejections have steadily increased since the beginning of COVID and is different, than van or flatbed, is due to grocery stores experiencing an increased demand due to restaurant closures during the beginning of COVID and an amplified amount of individuals working from home and remote learning. Van, being the most commonly used equipment type, is currently sitting at about 19% higher year over year due to a number of reasons I've discussed on previous episodes. But basically, people are not spending money on services and vacations like they typically would. Instead, they're purchasing more goods, which has increased import volumes, and ultimately sucking up a massive amount of capacity. Flatbed demand, on the other hand, has remained relatively flat. The flatbed demand is really impacted by the industrial sector, so you have energy like oil and gas, aerospace and construction, which have all taken a massive hit this year. The good news is that the industrial production and manufacturing is showing forward progress, which should increase flatbed demand if growth remains consistent. So by breaking down rejections here per equipment type, we can get a better understanding of what factors and industries are either fueling or hampering demand across the country. Okay, so the last chart I want to take a look at is breaks down volume based off of their length of haul. So blue is anything over 800 miles, purple is between 451 to 800 miles, green is between 251 to 400 miles, orange is between 100 to 250 miles, and yellow represents any shipment less than 100 miles. So the highest value currently being represented by the blue line are long-haul shipments. The high volume of long-haul supports the import data I discussed in episode 3 last week. Basically, if imports remain elevated, carriers are hauling more freight from ports to distribution centers across the country as companies work tirelessly to replenish inventories, during and before right now peak season hits. Typically, as peak takes off, the margin between the longer haul lengths and the shorter haul lengths tend to decrease as companies begin to pull large quantities of inventories from DCs and warehouses closer to brick and mortar retail stores. So basically, 2020 has proven to be anything but typical thus far, but and with import data remaining strong for the next 14 to 21 days, it's a toss-up as to when that shift in the haul length will actually occur from longer hauls to shorter hauls. But luckily, this is the type of data we review daily in order to advise and educate our customers and teammates. So if you have any questions as the year progresses or would like to have a more in-depth conversation regarding this topic, please feel free to reach out to me directly. And again, as always, my name is Chris Seeds, and this has been What Not to Miss with Chris.